Okay, hello. My name is Isabel Schwartz, and I will be instructing the middle school, high school theater summer course with AST. So, just a little bit about me. Obviously, my name is Isabel. I am a rising freshman at the University of Georgia. I'm also the CEO and founder of the nonprofit Traffic Talk, which aims to eradicate sex trafficking through education and conversation. I've been studying drama and theater for over or around 7 years now, and some of those years were under a Tony nominated instructor. Whoops. And I'm also the director of my high school's improv troupe. A little bit more about my credibility in teaching this course is I have competed in theater competitions before, and through some of that, I've earned all superiors from an individual event performance at the Georgia Thespian Festival, and have been invited based on my performance on that event to the International Thespian Festival. So for those of you who are not super familiar with the world of theater, especially competitive theater, individual events is when you are performing either a song or a monologue, a scene, anything like that, either for scholarship money or invitations to other festivals, and really to get your name known and recognized. And then also I am instructing the Greek mythology and middle school public speaking course. So the objective of this class, we're going to have a lot of fun, but just in words, is to expand the students' understanding of the onstage and behind the stage aspects of theater, all while increasing technical and creative skill. So I am a huge fan and believer in balance, and technical skill is great, creative skill is great, but they're really powerful when you can have both in your performance. And, behind the stage, on stage, I know there's a lot of jokes about kind of the feud and not appreciating each other, but in this course, we will be looking at how one totally needs the other, and without one, there would be no show. It's a perfect formula that brings it all together when it comes to performing on stage. So starting off, we are going to start each week with icebreakers, but of course for the first week, we're also going to be doing introductions just to make sure everyone is comfortable with each other and the online class setting. So, why are you interested in taking this class? Tell us a little bit about yourself, and it'll just give a really good opportunity for everyone to speak for themselves in the first week and get to know each other even though we're not physically with each other. So this week we're going to be focusing on archetypes and character tropes. So that will be the focus of the lesson this week. So we're going to be looking at stock characters, really, the nerd, the Jersey girl, the best friend, the comedian, all those things that we see in pretty much every show or theatrical performance that maybe not fall under the same name or wear the same costume, but we are able to recognize right away as sort of staples of the cast. So each student, when we are studying, is going to also have the chance to sort of embody their own classic character, and we will be able to look at their behavior, whether it's accents or body language, that make us able to identify who this person is and what purpose they're serving in the context of a performance. So then each class is going to end with a closing review and homework. So we're not just going to talk about it because it is a very discussion-based class. We're not just going to talk about it and then forget about it. No, we want to make sure that you're really internalizing what we're saying and you're taking it home with you. You're holding on to that after the lesson. So the homework's just going to be a quick little affirming thing of what we've talked about, and the review again is just sort of giving everybody the opportunity to talk through and process what we discussed that day. Week 2, we're going to move on to physicality, and this is sort of like an expansion on the first week, because I mentioned on that previous slide that when you're studying character tropes or quickly identifiable characters, part of the ways we are able to recognize them is what is their body telling us. So, traditionally we see more nerdy characters less open with their body language, less bold with their body language. They might have their head down. Or we see the popular girl, maybe she swings her hips a lot. Maybe she throws her arms up in the air. We see loud characters do loud body language without speaking. So how do we really make sure that we're communicating that without actually using our words to communicate? So after our opening discussion, where we really sit down, do a quick check-in with everyone. How are we feeling about last week's homework? How are we feeling going into today? We're going to move into the second lesson about how we use our body to continue our character development. Then again, we're going to have closing review and homework. So again, just making sure you're understanding what we're talking about in class, and then showing that you understand that through a short assignment that we'll go over the next week. Week through improvisation. Again, we're going to start with a quick check-in just to make sure everyone's in a good headspace. And then this lesson is going to be super, super fun because it gives people an opportunity to explore beyond what's on paper. So when you are acting after lots and lots and lots of rehearsal, you're less likely to take certain risks with your character because you have gotten used to that, or you in private have decided you didn't want to do that. But when you're improvising, you're kind of getting out of your head and you're going with your gut. So we're going to be studying that in this week. We're going to play fun improv games, all that kind of stuff that will make sure you are being able to make decisions that you, without reasoning away or being too shy to try, are getting to go based on your gut instinct, because a lot of times that's where our best acting comes from. And so you'll be able to take a lot of creative risks in this class. So then once again, closing review, homework, just making sure that this makes sense to you and that you're not losing it. Week 4 is going to be monologue dissection and building a backstory. So after we finish with our opening discussion with the class, our icebreakers sort of, we're going to move into this week's theme of internal character development. So, okay, you have these words in front of you that your director would like for you to say on stage. How are you going to make that interesting, and how are you going to make them sound like your own words? And we're going to be looking at subtext, motivations, how we can carry emotion, all of these things that we do inside to make sure that when we portray the character on the outside, the character believes us and the audience is really connecting with who we are showing them, not who we are really. And so it's so, so important to make sure that you have a backstory, whether it's pre-made or you make one for yourself, and you know how to go through a monologue and look for the insight you can look into your own character. Then we're going to have a closing review and homework. So just like every other week, we're going to be making sure that you can do this on your own. You'll be able to do it in the future, and it's not just totally leaving your brain when we finish talking about it. Week 5 is musical theater. So something that is super fun about this class is we are not just looking at straightforward, get on a stage, perform a monologue, leave theater. We are going into improvisation, we're going into musical theater, we're going to be looking, and you'll hear about this later, about the people backstage. We're really looking at musical theater in a collection of other aspects of theater so that you can have a better appreciation of the world as a whole and not just one little sector of it, because it really does enrich the rest of the atmosphere when you know more about the different areas of it. So again, opening discussion, because we want to make sure we're starting each class with a good note and that we're communicating. And then we're going to be looking at how we can apply the skills from last week, so dissecting a monologue, building a backstory, and put it into the context of dissecting a song or choreographing a dance, because each range, each crazy moving up the scale, moving down the scale, getting quieter in your song, getting louder in your song, a high kick there, a twirl here, all of that is something that is showing or telling the audience a little bit more about your character and how they're feeling in the moment. We don't just sing, we don't just dance because we want to, we do it because there is more that we can learn about the character through that we aren't having to deal with in a scene. It's just another way of showing yourself and your expression. So we're really going to be talking about that. And we're also going to have a little bit of a history unit in this where we're going to be looking at how musical theater has evolved. So how have we gone from a show as flashy and sparkly as the Ziegfeld Follies, which was the most popular kind of theme of musical theater years and years and years ago, to what we have now, which is getting more and more realistic and understated, sort of reflective of our lives. So less of a show and more of a kind of entertainment, stepping into someone's shoes experience. So again, closing review, homework, short, relevant to what we talked about that week. Week 6 is going to be backstage appreciation and the start of our final project. So they will be assigned a final project this week to turn in the last week. So we're going to start with our opening discussion. As always, just because we're getting towards the end, we're not going to stop checking in with each other. And then we're going to move into our lesson of the day, which is recognizing offstage roles. And then we're going to talk about the project, which will either be a performance or a report, depending on what the student chooses. There's a lot of freedom in this project. So I talked about earlier how there would be no performance, there would be no show if there were not people behind the scenes working just as hard as the people who are actually on the stage. And we're going to take a moment of appreciation for them because they deserve it. So we're going to be looking at, okay, what does the tech crew do? What do costume mistresses do? Prop masters, directors, all of that. And we're going to highlight each one of them, show their roles and responsibilities. And then for the final project, each student will be able to choose whether they want to do a song, a monologue, they want to make something like a prop, or they want to do maybe a presentation on a famous behind the scenes person in their field, and then they will present or perform it the next week. So the review and the homework for this week will be about the project. So the final week is going to be performance and reflection. So after a quick check-in, once again, because you have to be comfortable when you perform, or it's preferred when you perform, we're going to start with presentations. So whatever the student chose from the previous week, they're going to be presenting it here, sharing it with students, and then everyone will give feedback. So I'll give feedback, other students will give feedback, and then they'll have the opportunity to really reflect in the closing review with each other what they feel like they improved on from the class, what they feel like maybe they still want to work on, and just what growth they feel took place overall. So there will be no homework essentially this week other than to just digest the whole class and to digest how you feel your skills have been affected by the course. So this is my primary form of contact. If you'd like to reach out to me, this is my email. Just gonna give everyone a minute. I will send it in the chat. And that's it. I hope to see you all in class. It's gonna be super, super fun. Are there any questions? All right, well, thank you, David Wang. My email is in the chat, so if you do think of anything later on that you want to ask, feel free to send me an email there and I'll get back to you super quick. Thank you.